It's August 15th, 5:31 p.m., a meeting of the Laredo Youth Council at the Public Health Auditorium. We can start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Forward face north.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Carlota Costilla, Regina Gutierrez, Leo Moreno, Jamie Gutierrez, Neida de la O, Jasmine Poseda, Cicely Rojas, Sherlyn Ochoa, Allison Ramirez, Carlos Gabriel Mendoza, okay, Alice Araiza, Sheila Silva, Aileen Cortez, Sara Contreras, okay, Ivana Guzman, Vivian de la Cruz. So we do have a quorum. This is your first meeting of this year's youth council, so thank you guys for joining for your first meeting. There are a few of you who were here last year, but as some of you are new, we'll go over some kind of rules essentially a little bit later. But I wanted to start your year off with a welcome by Mayor Trevino as your first meeting, and he has a history with the health department, so wanted for you all to kind of introduce here at this meeting. So I'll leave it to you, Mayor.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. Youth Council, Laredo, very glad to have you here. First of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a medical doctor. I've been a medical doctor all my life, and was with the health department for over 36 years doing the clinics, and eventually became the health authority when the pandemic. So pandemic came and went, everything more or less settled down, and they asked me to run for mayor. And I said, well, I am not a politician, I'm a medical doctor. And they said, we don't want a politician, we want somebody else. Okay, put my name in. And lo and behold, it became a runoff and I won. And now what, right? But actually, we've come to the point where as a result of going to all the meetings and attending city council meetings, you get accustomed, you get the idea of what city government's about. And you probably took some government during the school. Did you have a government class? Okay, so that's where they teach you how the government is structured. It starts with the city government, state government, and the federal government. Here, starting in the city government, we have districts. There's 8 districts in the city of Laredo, and each district has a council person that's elected by the votes of that district. After that, we have this is the city manager in office. We have a city manager that's appointed by the city council, and he is in charge of handling all the finances and all the numbers that come in. So basically, what is the role of the mayor? The mayor is elected citywide. The role of the mayor is the voice of the people. He's the head of the city government and responsible for informing the public and being there whenever there's celebrations, announcements, or even disasters, like weather disasters or any kind of disaster, anywhere where the people need to be led and need to be informed of what's going on, either good or bad. So that's the role of the mayor, and the mayor is the face of the city whenever there's something to be informed, something to be led, and conversations with other city mayors. We have a border coalition of mayors, which is called the South Texas Alliance of Mayors, which it's all the border mayors starting from San Antonio all the way to Brownsville. This is a way we can have a coalition and a strong voice in our government, in the Texas government, and even the federal government, to have impact on what our challenges are. Now, all the challenges that we have here are common to most of the border. They're not all the same, but those are the challenges. Now, in city council, how does that work? Exactly how it went here. First, we stand up and call the meeting to order, do with a gavel, and then all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, we all stand, pledge of allegiance, and then we have a moment of silence for whatever you want to have a moment of silence for. We sit down. I ask the city secretary to give a roll call, just like you had the roll call right now. And whoever is present or absent, we have to have a quorum. A quorum is a specific number of council people. It has to be 5, so we can start the meeting. Otherwise, we can't start the meeting. So after that, then we start reading the items on the agenda.
Thank you.
And we have an agenda, which are all the items that is going to be discussed in our meeting. And that agenda is items that we have put in the agenda. We have a cutoff date several days before we have a meeting. There's a place there that says citizen comments. Citizen comments, people from the public can sign up and come up to the podium and say, I have a citizen comment. They're entitled to talk 3 minutes, and as long as they maintain decorum, they don't have any foul language or any insulted language or anything that's out of the ordinary. So we let them talk for 3 minutes, and sometimes they want to go over and we have to stop them. You have 3 minutes because we have other people that want to also speak. So, and after that, we start with the items. Items are the items that we have put on, and then that's city business. And the items can be either the budget, it can be just a business from the city and things that happen. We have managers from different areas or directors from different areas of the city that come and give report. If there's a situation with the water, well, the director of the water comes and gives a report. We're at X amount of water drought, and for example, other directors can come and give reports on the pavement, on the parks, and so every director has a role. So after that, then we continue to discuss the items on the meeting, and each councilman may have an item or not. The mayor might have items. The mayor usually wants to have his item brought forth first, because this concerns the whole city. There's a discussion and a proposal by the mayor. This is the item, and the proposal is to direct the city council or to have the manager entertain the motion that we want to do a certain thing. And we discuss it. Anybody for discussion? Council people discuss it, and then after that, after the discussion, we'll call for the question. Okay, what was the question? All in favor? And depending who says yes, all against, and if the majority, then the motion passes. So the motion passes, the city manager is directed to start working on that item. Next item, same thing, that's the way the meeting is conducted. And at the end, we sometimes have an executive session where we can go back there when we have to discuss things that have to do with confidentiality, or things that have to deal with legal things. Then we discuss them in executive session. And then when we come out of executive session, I say, back to regular session, back to city council. No discussion, no decisions were made, no items were, we give the result of what we did back then. Then the meeting continues, and we finish with all the items. And after that, then somebody motions, motion, Mayor, that we adjourn the meeting after all the items of that have a pat. And then second by somebody, all in favor? Or you have to have, somebody has to bring the proposal to end the meeting. So the motion is called the motion. And then somebody has to do a second. And then the mayor says, motion is on the floor, it's been seconded by another council person. All in favor? All against? And that's how the motion passes or fails. If the motion passes, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. That's a meeting. So, is that simple? More or less simple. There's a lot of discussion that happens during the meeting, and sometimes the discussions take a long time, and some council people want to discuss more than others, and that takes some time. But it is up to the mayor to control the decorum of the meeting, the cordiality, that the meeting goes in the right direction, and the rules of Roberts are followed. Have you heard of the rules of Roberts, the Roberts rules? Those are the rules that guide the meetings to be established in a certain time, to go correct. And people can't talk out of place. If some councilman person wants to speak, they have to ask the mayor, may I speak? The mayor says yes, or just a minute, somebody else would like to speak first. So nobody will speak at the same time. So that's the rules of Roberts, one of the rules of Roberts. And we have to follow the items that come up. Some things can't be jumped, and somebody might say, order, or let's follow the Roberts rule, point of order, and then we go back to a point of order. If somebody missed a step or there's an item or a discussion that came out of place, then somebody might say, point of order, and then we go back to order. So that's what it is, basically. Now, what is in your minds right now? Do you wanna run for a public office? Do you wanna be a candidate for a public office? You could, but what is your goal to being an elected official? You have to have a goal. You wanna have all the hype and all the attention, or do you wanna serve the people? A public servant has to have the first vision of serving the public, not serving himself. So you have to have that goal in mind. If you're going to run for office, you will serve the public. You will serve that district you were elected on, or a city you were elected for, but you have to never lose that focus that it's what the public wants. You're serving the public, and you portray that in your messages. And sometimes there's controversy, and I am the tiebreaker, the mayor is the tiebreaker sometimes. And they ask me, which way are you going to vote, Mayor? There's a tie over here, there's four against four councilmen against four councilmen. And my answer is always, I will vote to whatever benefits the public. And that's the way I do the vote. And this way, you are for the public. It's not, you don't go to one side or the other because these are your friends and these are not. No, you have to think about the public. So that's the way it is, and that's the way business is conducted in the city. There's a lot of challenges that we have because the budget is one of them. We just had a city council meeting, several city council meetings to discuss the budget. It's like if you have $10 and you want to spend on a Hershey bar, you want to spend on a Coke, you only have a certain amount of money to spend and then your $10 are up. It's the same thing to see. We have a larger budget, close to $1 billion, that we have to spend wisely. This goes for Park and Wildlife, it's for Health Department. So we establish what we want to spend on each department, on each challenge that we have in the city, and that's how we get to the budget. And sometimes we have to take away from certain entities and give to another, and that's how we adjust it. But city council is in charge of that. We present it to the city manager, we vote on it, and the budget has passed. It sounds like a simple thing, but to be in charge of $1 billion and to give monies exactly to the people that need it, and to be fair about it, and to think of who needs it most, that is a challenge. You have to use your criteria, your experience, and think about the well-being of the public. So that's basically what it is. Are there any questions? I'm pretty sure there's questions. So are you thinking of running for public office? Anybody thinking of running for public office? You, maybe? No? Maybe?
Maybe it doesn't chip me.
All right, so that's what it is. In order to run for public office, first you have to do a campaign. You have to put your name in, and you have to be registered to vote in that district. You have to be a resident of that district, and you have to have your qualifications like above 18 years old, and certain criteria that they ask you to do. And then you register yourself, you start your campaign, you put posters out and campaign. Of course, you have to conduct yourself in a decent way. And then when it's time for vote, people vote for the candidates or for that district or for mayor. And if there's a tie, then there's a runoff. It doesn't have to be an exact tie, it could be within a certain amount of votes, whatever the votes that,
50%?
50%, you have to have more than 50%. So if you get tied with somebody else, then there's a runoff. There's another election between those two people, and then again, whoever wins.
Mayor, before you go, so a lot of these students, to get in the youth council, they had to apply, right? And so one of the questions on their application was, you know, what issues do they see the city facing? What can they do? And as mayor, and knowing that, you know, they're here because they want to be here, what is like one or two topics you can very briefly mention to them that you would like to see the youth involved in regarding the city? Just very briefly.
All right, the city's obligated to do certain things. Security, health, education, parks, the improvement fund. There's certain aspect that the city has to do. You need to prioritize what is there. What's the most challenging thing in your city? Is it health? Are we medically underserved? We are medically underserved, so we have to focus a little bit on public health. So we do that. Is there a problem with security? Police officers, do we have enough police officers? Do we have a crime rate that's high? Then we have to focus on that. Affordable housing, is there enough affordable housing? Do people have enough houses, or are there many people that don't have a home and have to live with somebody else or in their car? And the more people that don't have a home, the higher the poverty level is measured at. So we're measured according to how many people have homes. So those are priorities that you have to look at. Security, how are we doing with border security? Do we have a lot of drugs coming in? Do we have a lot of cartels living here? What is the security situation? How is the city rated as the safest or non-safest city in the United States? Luckily, here in Laredo, we're one of the top 10 safest cities in the whole country. Why are we like that? Because we have the presence of very good law enforcement agencies, starting with our police department, border patrol, ICE, FBI. We have about 11 police agencies here, and they all work in conjunction. And we have an entity where they all cooperate for information. And if somebody stopped, for example, they stop a car and he's speeding, they give him a ticket, and if they don't know what other problems that person has, they let him go. But what if that person who wanted for another issue, then they check and they cross-check, and that's the way they can collaborate. Collaboration is one. Collaboration also with our Mexican counterparts. We share information to see what the situation is over there, what's happening, what's not happening, and that's another way we can have good security in our city. We have a tremendous amount of commerce that goes back and forth. Sometimes there are bottlenecks. Sometimes the computer system goes down on the other side, and then it causes a big backup of 18-wheelers. What contingency plans do we have? What contingency plans do they have? That has to do with collaboration. So in other words, when we see a bottlenecking on this side and their computer system is working, we ask them to open more lanes so they can expedite the trucks going back. So all this collaboration makes it, I think, Laredo a unique model for the rest of the country on how they can solve problems with other countries. We can solve it here locally. We're doing federal issues at a local level. So Laredo's unique compared to other cities because they don't have that international border, they don't have the challenges that we have here. So I invite anybody from any party that comes here to speak about solutions for our challenges and not divisive rhetoric. There's a lot of divisive rhetoric. I don't accept that. If they want to come here, I'd be glad to talk to any candidate about solutions, about how to focus on our challenges, and that's the way to go. That's the way to make things progress. Go ahead.
I know, Major, that you released a statement on J.D. Vance's rhetoric, as you mentioned right now, and you stated that you wouldn't meet with him or talk to him unless he stops, talking about the border in the way he does. In case of the Trump campaign winning the presidential election, how would you ensure to work with them, even though, you know, we have our differences, in the way they portray, the board, to ensure that the board keeps, as a hub for transportation and commerce, and, you know, Laredo keeps growing.
Right, and that's a good point, because that's the beauty of our country. We can say what's on our mind, as long as we do it legally. We can put our ideas forth without the fear of repercussion. And that's what makes a democratic country what it is. So, following that idea, I'm glad to talk to any candidate. I'm glad to receive any candidate from any party that'll come down here and talk about how we're going to do solutions for our challenges. These are our challenges. We have, whatever challenge we have here, we have a border here, we have international situations here, we have a low amount of crime. We have challenges that are present in all the board. How are you going to help us, or what's your plan to help us through the federal government or state government to address these problems? And that is what the focus of the conversation should be. Nothing else, other than I won't accept anybody that's downgrading Laredo, pointing us that we're a bunch of this, a bunch of that. I don't accept that, because the reality is different here. And that's why I invite anybody to come down here and look at what we have here. Look at the model that we have here. This model should be shared by other cities, maybe countries. Look at the international commerce. We have 20,000 18-wheelers a day crossing back and forth. 20,000 18-wheelers. Can you imagine if you put them bumper to bumper, how long they will go? I mean, and how much merchandise passes through Laredo in 1 year? $320 billion of merchandise. Where does that merchandise go? Goes into the United States, goes into Mexico. Mexico buys a lot of things from Texas, and they fabricate problems, they fabricate end results, products, and then they come back to us, and it's a back and forth thing. So China is not the #1 trade partner of the United States anymore. It is Mexico. So we have to portray that message, and we have to keep on saying that we are a very important city, not only to us and to Texas, but to the rest of the country. So that's a message we want to give. That's politics, okay? Any other questions on government? On how it works, or what do we do in certain situations? Disasters? That's a good point. Why do we declare a disaster? A disaster can be imminent threat, or the perception of threat. And where is that, how is that defined? If we have a hurricane coming, and we know it's gonna hit, the mayor can do a declaration of disaster. And that brings in federal assistance and state assistance to have more personnel here, National Guard, and people that could help us if the hurricane hits. That's one reason to do a declaration of disaster. Whenever we have a severe drought, that we have no water, that's another declaration of disaster. It's a threat to our lives, so that fits in for a disaster. And other things that, say we have situations where there's a bunch of fires all over the place, the threat to life is also a declaration, it fits for a declaration of disaster. So have you noticed, have you heard a declaration of disaster? The mayor did a declaration of disaster for what? And have you heard of declarations of disaster? And we do it occasionally, and sometimes nothing happens, which is good. But as long as there's an imminent threat of a danger to life and property, the declaration of disaster fits.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Major, do you have a group of advisors that advise you whenever you try to do something?
Yes, the city has a city attorney, they have assistant city managers, we have a city manager, we have staff that also assist, we have public information officers. Staff is really, that does all the legwork in the city. And information to the mayor is crucial, so that we rely on staff a lot to give us that information. And then the mayor puts that information forth in a concise way, and the direction where we need to go. So that is the role of staff, and that is the role of mayor.
It's more so on your perspective, but as a previous medical professional, do you ever see correlations between the runnings of government and medicine? Similarities?
Yes, I see the city as patients. So in my medical practice, I treat patients, I make sure that we do prevention. We give medications, but sometimes we tell them, hey, you need a bone densitometry, you need a certain tests to prevent this, you need blood tests for prevention. Maybe we'll find something that we can treat before it gets out of control. So it's the same thing with the city. We try to do prevention measures. If there's streets out of whack, or there's things that are dangerous, we try to get those fixed so there won't be accidents. And that goes a little bit further up when we have laws that need to be fixed or redirected. Then those are things that we can also discuss. We can also put forth in city council proposals when we have people that have a problem with, for example, water pressure. Then we talk to the director of utilities and ask him to take care of that problem. There's one thing I did want to say. When there's other situation, I was thinking of something to say, but any situation that deals with prevention, that's what the role of the mayor, in my capacity, would be. Go ahead.
As we were talking about disasters, what has been the biggest challenge or disaster that you have had to face, and what steps did you take as mayor to mitigate any of the negative effects?
There's been several that we've declared. The hurricanes is one Contreras disaster. But we've had situations where the water went down, the level of, we have a water conservation program where we have certain levels of water conservation based on the amount of water that's in Lake Amistad and Falcon Lake. So we got to a point where we had to go down to level 3. There's level 1, level 2 is more conservation. Level 3 is that you cannot wash your cars. You can only irrigate your lawn once a week, and you should try to conserve water as much as possible. It came to the point that we had to go to level 4. But what happens at level 4 is that we ask people to conserve water, and then what's happening is water is getting stagnated on the fire hydrants, so we have to flush them out. We have to flush at about 30 million gallons a week. Sometimes 30 million gallons, and how much are we saving? Then we're spilling it out because it gets stagnant. So it didn't make any sense to go into level 4. So these are challenges where I have to say we have a declaration of disaster because of our drought situation. Because these are imminent threats. If the water conservation plan goes below 4, then people can't even water their lawns. And they have to really restrict their water usage. It would be a declaration of disaster. It would be a disaster. So there we would get funds from the federal government, maybe help from the state. So that's what triggers off a declaration of disaster. It also enables the police department and all the law enforcement agencies to have more power. So a lot of things happen. The paramedics and health department, everybody's involved when we have declarations of disaster.
We have time for one more question from the mayor so that we can move on to the health department.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mayor, so
All right.
much.
Okay, thank you.
I'm gonna go over very quickly the, thank you, Mayor. Very quickly, I sent you all an email. So within the youth council, there's positions. There is chair, vice chair, parliamentarian, secretary, and historian. I emailed you the description of the positions at your next meeting in September. You can nominate someone else, or you can self-nominate, and we'll do the secret vote at that meeting, at the beginning of the meeting, so you can have your board for the year, okay? If you have any questions on it, you can email me, but take a look at home through the bylaws, and all that information is there. Up next, we have the health department. I know most of you all visited the health department during your internships in the summer, but I wanted to give them, it's one of our biggest departments, a little bit more time for you to hear from them and know what they do. And we also invited 2 staff members from Animal Care Services, which is part of the health department. Some of you all went last year, and I think you all had a lot of fun there. So maybe we'll go back and visit, but I think they bring an interesting perspective to what they do versus what you see in the news. So, you know, that's why we invited them over, and just take a listen to what public health does. So this is Dr. Richard Chamberlain, the health department director.
Good evening, y'all. I see a couple familiar faces that I got to hang out and chat with while you all were rotating through the different divisions here at Public Health. I know classically, maybe you all have always thought of public health here, especially the Cedar Clinic, right, as everybody knows it, as vaccines, right? I mean, this is where many people come and get their vaccines, and we are that pillar in the community for vaccine access and adherence. And then also, of course, you think of birth certificates and death certificates. But for those that have already rotated through here, which all of you all have, yes?
Most of them.
Most?
There's a few that couldn't do it in the summer, so they didn't make it here. But
Okay,
most
awesome.
of them did.
Well, I mean, for those who didn't, because for those who did, you got to see the many, many different divisions and the different programs and services and the complexities that are operated here through Laredo Public Health, which is for you all. Laredo Public Health is for all members of the community, and not just for a specific portion or group. Public health has no borders, and public health is for all. And that's what is guiding us every day to be able to achieve those levels of health equity. Do we know what health equity is? Anyone? You wanna give a shot at the definition? I know it's late, y'all, but you can have a little more to the evening, or maybe it's the food already also.
Where not everyone gets the same, but everyone gets what they need.
Perfectly said. So where anybody is able to reach their fullest potential. So exactly, not everybody gets a 6-foot ladder, right? But the person who needs a 10-foot ladder and the person who needs a 2-foot ladder get those ladders, while that person who is 12 foot can see over the fence already. So we want to make sure that those individuals get just the right amount of what they need to reach their fullest potential, in whatever capacity that might be, right? Because there are persons who don't need as much as others, and there are persons who may have a handicap and they need a little more in certain realms than what another person might need. So that's what we work towards every day with all the different programs and services that we offer here, and we're always looking for more. And I know Karen asked just a few short moments ago of how you all, or what we could recommend and ask you all to do to get more involved. So this is definitely one of those. Being in this realm and making sure that you are beginning to inject yourself into the community. And I would ask that you all continue to speak about this experience with your peers, and so that way you're able to make sure that as you are approaching the voting age, that you all make sure you exercise those rights to vote. And as you continue to grow throughout adolescence and into your early adult years, that you think about these opportunities to serve the public. And as the mayor said, he said it beautifully. I mean, we're here for the people. If you are thinking about, hey, I wanna hype myself up, you know, gain 15 million followers on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it may be, that's the wrong reason to get into public service. But we do know that there's a lot of those persons, right, that are out there for that reason. But remember, when you're a public servant, which is every one of us here at Laredo Public Health, we are here to serve the community. We serve with their best interests first, and putting our beliefs aside, because our beliefs are for our personal beings and not for the community that we serve. We then take everything that you all need and then we put that into action. So we heard recently that there was a shortage of information being pushed out about persons living with autism or newly diagnosed persons with autism. So the health department was all ears. We don't just listen, we truly understand. And we went out and looked for award opportunities, and we have brought in a couple $1 million for autism awareness, education, surveillance in the community that did not exist before. So that is another challenge that I would bring to you all. If there's something that you all are seeing that there's a need for and there's nowhere to go for it, share that with us in public health too. And we'll look for possible awards that are out there to bring in those service streams and programs that can help elevate the status of that specific group or the community as a whole, because we do care for all. I will shorten that up because I know we have animal care here, with Noeva, and Mr. Sanchez, or ACOs, our officers, I apologize. So they're gonna share a little bit more because you all didn't get to hang out with animal care, but they'll share the many complexities of our animal care system, which is at the shelter, but then also out on the streets of Laredo, which they are 24/7.
Before you go, Dr. Chamberlain, the previous youth council, it was hard to kick off, but a lot of them were very heavily interested in public health for people, mental health for people their age. They brought up how in their schools it's not heavily talked about. It's also even with their counselors, like you can't necessarily talk about certain things in school, but even within the health department, when we try to do something with them, there's only certain things we can do because they're under 18. And so if there's ever any sort of collaboration or project, I think a lot of them might be interested, because they were bringing up, at least last year, how there's not enough resources for them, and then the resources that are available are just not pointed at their needs and the issues that they're going through.
So that's something that was from this group?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, awesome. So I will address that. So your voices are very powerful when they're collective. And so you now have a platform, right, to share that. I'm pretty sure there might be a moment where you all get to go up in front of council in the next couple of sessions. I'm not too sure.
if they ever want
and that's something that you all can request, right? There is public comment. You all have that opportunity to share that with council. And that would be something very beautiful for you all to do as the age group that is requesting this. Because let me just step back real quick. At the systems level, Laredo is significantly short with the number of mental health providers regardless. So let me give you a stat. For every one primary care doctor, which is not a psychiatrist, right?
What is a primary care doctor?
Thank you. A primary care doctor is your general doctor, the doctor that you go to when you are feeling like you have a cold, or you're feeling like you have the flu, or you might have COVID, or you might have had just a simple cut, laceration that you need stitches. You go to your general doctor, right? So just on general doctors, for every one general doctor, there's 3,209 persons, potential patients. So that's a huge undertaking for that one doctor to be responsible for those 3,000 persons. On the mental health side, for psychiatrists, we only have one for the whole city of Laredo, one body, one physical being here in Laredo. We had two, he retired, and he was on the adolescent PD side. Pediatrics is anybody underneath the age of 18. So that individual retired. So, that's also something for you all to share in your realms, right? For people who are very much into having conversations, chatting, maybe not the gossip, right? We don't like gossip. Gossip is not fun. Chismes are not cool. But wanting to intervene and help out, kind of maybe direct that person or for yourself into that healthcare medical realm to continue to grow the talent that's here. So we do definitely need more individuals. So as I just mentioned, there's one. And by the most recent census for Webb County, because this is also the only person in Webb County, we have 278,000 persons. So one doc for 278,000 persons. And that's virtually impossible to take care of. So we have a lot of telemedicine. I don't know if you all have ever exercised the telemedicine elements of your schools. I am not familiar if the telemedicine is with an actual psychiatrist. It is? Yes, awesome. So that's good. So there are those extensions there, but if you're saying that you need more, in the realm of council, even though the council can't make decisions for the school districts, but the school districts will see that the students went to the city council to share what they need. So remember, your voices collectively are very powerful. They can help draw attention to certain movements or situations that you all are asking for. You can also do this at your school district board meetings, right? You can do that there too. There's nothing wrong with being democratic and discussing a situation or an issue. So I know recently, I can share, sorry you all.
You're good,
Oh,
you're
it's
good.
fine.
I can talk forever too. I know recently, and I'll get into a little, it's a little sensitive what I'm gonna share. There was a triple overdose a couple of months back, right? I don't know if you all have seen that or heard about it in the paper or on the news, but it was definitely there. And a very unfortunate situation is that there was a 9-year-old in that home, just thinking that her mommy and daddy and her uncle were asleep, and asleep for hours. So it got to the point where she knew the number 911 and made that phone call. But all that trauma now is embedded within that individual, this poor, now 10-year-old girl. And we're trying to find spaces for her to be able to talk about this. But because we're so underserved, it's so difficult to find that space for her to be able to connect with a counselor, with a therapist, with a psychiatrist. And so that's what now hearing this, like Karen sharing about what you all said, I've been working on that for the last couple of months, trying to find awards that are focused on youth, on the pediatric under 18 population for mental health. Because we're growing our program here at the health department, but it is for adults, it's for anybody over the age of 18. And so we need it in general, overall, but we definitely know that there is a lot of stuff that you all are exposed to. I mean, I didn't have 2 phones when I was, in high school. There was no social media, so there's a lot more stressors that are involved with you all in your age group, in your realm, in your generation, and it's important to be able to talk about them. And it's also part of our culture to not talk about your mental health. There's that machismo culture too, especially on the male side, to not talk about anything, or it's frowned upon to cry. But I always say, anybody who can fess up and talk about how they feel and put it out into a realm where they're not making anybody feel uncomfortable, but just enough to know, hey, I want to talk about something, and then take it into another direction or find that support, that is courageous. And you want to always have that courage to talk about how you're feeling in that moment. And sometimes those are just moments, right? But when those moments turn into days, I always say, seek out that help. Even if, like, say for instance me, I'm there and you're wanting to chat, I know I can't provide that expert, professional, medical grade psychiatrist conversation to provide you and steer you to treatment, but I can get you to those resources. So there's so many persons out there that do know that, and we're continuing to build that fabric here in the community. So just be on the lookout and help inspire others out there that want to go into that path, but make sure, and I know a lot of you all want to get out and travel, right? And go to different cities. But then just think about how important your education, your experiences from outside in the professional realms will matter when you come back and give it to the next generation. Because that's what legacy is. Legacy is not what you do for yourself, but what you do for the next generation, which will also be your families. So I'll pause there and kick it back over to them.
All right, good afternoon, guys. I'm Major Sanchez. This is Cindy Manuela.
Hi.
As mentioned, we're coming from Animal Care. We are a branch of the health department here in the city. As mentioned by Dr. Chamberlain and the mayor, we're public service. We're the people that the public seeks for assistance when it comes to our furry friends, canines, feline, whether it's the handling and care, so enforcing, code enforcement, or city ordinances. That's obviously not limited to that. We have handled wildlife in the past, where it's possums to skunks to raccoons. It's a big department that we work on. I know there's a lot of questions, misconceptions about us, so at any moment in the presentation you wish to ask us anything, just go ahead and let us know. We'll answer as best as we can, all right?
Alright, what comes after graduation? After high school graduation, most of us have an idea on what we like and what we would like to continue studying. Love animals, how can I find a job working with them? Do you guys know what you guys want to do when you finish high school? Okay, something else?
I want to do political science.
I want to do political science as well.
Everybody wants to do political science?
That's gonna change once you go into school.
Yes. Alright, let's see. Okay, so these are some of the jobs there at Animal Care Services. It would be, of course, opportunity would be the director, and then it's the assistant director, which is Ms. Bluestrom. And then operation manager, the clinic supervisor, the animal control supervisor also, administrative assistant, executive assistant, program coordinator, a rescue specialist, adoption specialist, you have vet techs, dispatcher, clerk, and kennel workers. Okay? Animal control officers, this is what we do. Pretty much what you need to be an animal control officer would be a high school diploma, a euthanasia certification, a basic animal control certification. What we do is we patrol, capture, and impound domestic and non-domestic animals that are either aggressive, injured, running at large, or that is a safety or health hazard to the community. We also enforce state laws and city ordinance. We attend to citizen calls for any issues with animals in the city. There's 5 high-risk animals for rabies, which are the raccoons, the skunks, the bats, the coyotes, and the fox. We do a lot of cruelty calls, believe it or not, and we also pick up contained animals or animals in trap. Okay, so we're gonna show you some pictures of some animals that we've caught also. There's some pictures that might be, people might think it's graphic, but these are some pictures that we have had in the past. We've caught from monkeys to javelinas to tigers to ball pythons. The bottom pictures are pictures of animals, that are either being neglected or, in cruelty. This right here, I don't know if everybody can see it. Right here, it is a hoarding call. The people had more than 5 animals inside the property and inside the house. It was really, really bad, honestly. Some of the dogs were very malnourished, a lot of fleas, ticks. It was really bad. This picture, it's a cruelty call also. As you can see, the dog does not have proper shelter. A proper shelter is a house, a dog house, and it has to have the 4 walls, front side, of course, and then the back one, of course, little top one, and it has to be lifting from the floor. As you can see, the water here is green, so that's not a shelter for an animal. Over here also, this is part of the hoarding call. As you can see, the puppy does not have water. That is a shelter, but when the sun hits on the animal, what happens? The house gets really hot. So it's not a proper shelter for the animal. Plus, it does not have a lot of movement. The one over there, as you can see, cropped ears. Animals cannot have cropped ears. That is citable here in the city of Laredo. So what happened with that dog? The ears got infected, and pretty much he has no ears, as you can see. The one over here, actually in this call, we stumbled across this dog. As you can see, well, I don't know if everybody can see it. The eyes are white, where he wasn't being taken care of. Full of ticks and fleas, very malnourished. Honestly, the dog was in bad shape. So pretty much these are some of the things we do, some, not all.
Wait, miss, you were talking about the cropped ears. Do you mean like cropped
When
ears?
they cut the dog's ears.
You can't, like, even if it's like a Doberman, you can't do it at the vet?
Honestly, you're not supposed to.
Oh, okay.
That is considered kind of like a cruelty to animals. So pretty much, no.
It's an unnatural alteration to the animal, that's why it's frowned upon.
Oh.
Obviously, it is a thing for Dobermans, pits, boxers. You see that a lot, especially with their tails, their ears. But at the end of the day, it is a modification that's not natural to the animal.
So if you catch like somebody doing that, could they like get in trouble legally, or how does that go
You
on?
can get cited. So pretty much when it comes to that stuff, you know, we don't go out and look for the stuff. They have to call it in. So let's just say your neighbor calls it in, we go, we're checking everything. And if the dog like does, we will, you know, either cite or speak, you know, to either your parents or anything like that. And let them know, you know, under the city ordinance, you're not supposed to be doing that. Okay, you can go ahead. So, adopt, rescue, repeat, the rescue and adoption team. We have the program coordinator, we have a rescue specialist, and we have an adoption specialist. Pretty much the program coordinator is in charge of the rescue specialist and the adoption specialist. You can go ahead now. So, this is the program coordinator duties. They seek and or create events. Like the event we're gonna have this Saturday, it's gonna be up there at the shelter from 10 to what time? 2 to 2. I don't know if you guys wanna go.
That they can volunteer at.
You can
right?
also volunteer, you guys, so it would be a big help. So it's, they handle event logistics and planning, seek for, programs for vaccines, sterilization, and donation. So whenever you guys also, wanna donate, you guys can also donate, you know, and also help out with the vaccine drives and the sterilization and all that. Oversee the rescue and adoption program. Like I said, they're in charge of the rescue and adoption program, and promote the shelter, services, adoption, and rescue with the community. And administrative duties also, that's what they do. So this is the rescue and adoption, team duties. Kick it in. Okay. The rescue specialist works closely with countless nonprofit rescue groups across Texas and out of state to help dogs and cats find a forever home. They also promote the shelter pets via Facebook by posting, you know, the pictures. I don't know if you guys seen our Facebook page and all that. There's like a lot of videos. People did see some. Yeah, we post everything on Facebook to let you guys know, you know, hey, like, you know, come adopt, guys. We place rescue tags to make sure that all tagged dogs and cats keep healthy until they are transported out. So pretty much she's in charge of, you know, the dogs getting adopted or out to the rescues. You know, they go to New York, they go to Buffalo, they go everywhere. They travel a lot. And the adoption specialist, she helps the screen and process of individuals looking to adopt and ensure pets are going to good homes, or promote adoption events also, and social media outlets. So the adoption specialist is in charge of the adoptions from here. So she's in charge of, you know, getting the application done, making sure the animals are all vaccinated for them to go to a good home and everything like that.
So just to touch on that, so the reason that they also have that is because the shelter has capacity limits. They can't just have as many dogs and cats as they fit in. So they also have to try to, and to send the dogs out, right? So they have an adoption specialist. If you wanna go in and adopt or rescue, there's a lot of local organizations, and like she said, out of town, that they will even come in flights, right?
My dog is my co-pilot.
Yeah, my dog is my co-pilot, and they will fly animals out from here across the country to other homes and areas that have families that want them. So those dogs go already having a home, because our shelter is not a no-kill shelter. So if they aren't able to get them adopted, right, they have a deadline, as they call it, and yeah, so you wanna get them out.
So yeah, that's one of the misconceptions. A lot of people think that we just immediately sleep every animal that comes in. That's not what we do. We try our best to try to fix things here locally, try to get them adopted. We would love our people in the community to have their own pets. But as mentioned, sometimes it's not possible here in Laredo. That's why we have people that work out of state, as mentioned. We've sent dogs to New York, Washington, Canada. We have a lot of resources to try to get these animals the perfect home for them.
And their staff works like 2, 3 in the morning to make sure that these animals make it out on time. So it's a lot of ongoing effort from them to here, not just the rescues, to make sure that the animals find homes.
How can you help? You can, like I said, donate to the local animal shelter. Ask your parents if your family can foster a dog or a cat. Adopt, of course. Don't shop. If thinking of being a pet owner, adopt. Educate others about pets as companions and proper pet care. And, you know, if there's any like stray or aggressive animals, you can always give us a call, or anything, wildlife or anything like that, you can always give us a call to that number, 956-625-1855, or you can always bring the animal to the shelter, except wildlife, do not touch wildlife, please, only cats and dogs. To the shelter, they're at 5202 Mayor. Do you guys have any questions? You first.
So I know you said like they have like a deadline, like how Greg said, so like what if they're in the process of, let's say, getting shipped out, but let's say they get, or like somebody says, oh, I want them like the last day of their deadline, like is it possible to adopt them, or would they?
Okay, so we do have a hold on the animal. When we bring the animal in, there is a 72 hour, which is a 3 days, the 72-hour hold. After the 72-hour hold, that animal belongs to the city, which is a shelter pretty much. They belong to us, so we try to promote the animal. You know, we hold it for approximately 18 days or more there in the shelter, because we're trying to be a non-kill, we're trying to. But since the shelter does get like super full real quick, unfortunately we do have to euthanize. We are a euthanasia center. We try our best to get these animals adopted. Now, if you were to come in the last day, you can still adopt this animal. Just, you know, fill out the application, let them know like, hey, you know what, I want this animal, and pretty much you'll meet up with the adoption specialist, which is Ms. Salazar, and she would be the one to be in charge of it.
Does that answer your question?
Thank you. I have a question. If, let's just say theoretically, I were to find abandoned kittens, would you recommend for the person to take care of it, or to give them to the pet shop?
Depending how big are the kittens. If they're newborn cats, I would recommend you to leave them there. As in, the mom might go get some food or something, you know, and the cats constantly move their kittens. So if they're newborn, I would recommend you to leave it there. The mama will come back. Now, if the cats are not moved and they stay there for only 3 days or so, or 2 days, then you can give us a call and be like, you know what, the mom hasn't, you know, came. This cat has been here. These cats have been here for like 2 days, and you know they're still in the same place. Can you guys come and help us or anything like that? We'll go check it out.
Also, this is another question. Can you chip a cat? Like, I know that legally you're supposed to chip dogs. Can you chip cats?
Yes, you can. Yes. Any animal that also leaves the shelter is gonna be microchipped and is gonna be spayed or neutered. So that's one of the good
So
things.
you are correct, it is under ordinance to have your animal registered to the city. So if any of y'all are interested in doing that, we do recommend you call our shelter, get informed. Really all we ask is that the animals currently under vaccines, you bring them in, whoever's gonna sign off on the animal, you bring your ID and stuff, so you can be able to microchip them. We do provide all that service. They'll be registered in the city, and that, I mean, that helps a long way. If you get, let's say, your animal were to run a large, and we were able to contain it with your chip, and you'd be able to find your info, obviously be able to relocate your pet back to your home.
Oh, and make sure that the vaccine, the rabies vaccine, is from
Stateside.
Yeah, it can't be from Mexico. We, like, if you go across and vaccinate your animals, it's not gonna count here. Okay, cool. Any more questions?
Did you guys worry the mountain lions?
Yeah, I was gonna ask them, like,
We heard about it, but no, it wasn't.
So that more so is where we work hand in hand with our other departments, other people that, because there's a lot of stuff that we ourselves, we seek out help as well. We can work with PD, sheriffs, game warden. In that case, that's where we got a helping hand from the game warden, because they're the ones that know a little bit more about wildlife. Obviously.
And just the game warden is the state.
Correct, yes. Yeah, because as I mentioned, here in the city we focus mostly on domestic animals, but it does extend sometimes to wildlife, snakes, such and such. So we did get the report about the mountain lion, but at that point we need a higher authority that's a little bit more educated on what to do best with the mountain lion. Obviously, you can imagine having a mountain lion there in the shelter with the dogs. So, I don't think that's a...
And plus, we're just going with our snare, so
Yeah.
we can't defend ourselves. Any other questions?
Yes.
I was going to ask how you said about wildlife. Do you ever receive a lot of calls yearly or monthly about wildlife?
It's a daily thing, for calls, calls are pretty constant. It's raccoons, skunks,
Possums,
rattlesnakes,
even possums.
It's a lot, we do receive a couple a day. Obviously there's some spots where something's more frequent, but we do receive everything, like possums, skunks, raccoons, rattlesnakes. It is a thing that does come in daily, aside from just the domestic animals.
The jabalina,
The
the wild
jabalinas,
hogs, all that.
Thank you. Do y'all deal with like beehives and stuff, or is that something else?
Depending on the bee.
Yeah, if it's a honeybee, honeybees are protected. You can't really go around smacking the hives around. But we do respond to those. We attend them as best as we can.
But not at homes.
Okay, so what happens with the bees, when the beehives is inside your property, we do not take care of that. It would be either your parents, to have to call someone to go check that out. If it's outside your property, that's when we're the ones that have to go and check.
Like on a public street, a public area,
Right,
right?
the sidewalk and all that,
And
a water
that's where-
meter.
That's where we can attend, document what's going on, and we have the resources to contact beekeepers and environmental people that can step in with us to try to get them relocated, obviously.
Michelle, your jurisdiction, I'm sorry, only Laredo, or can y'all answer the question that's outside city limits?
So yeah, we're focused on city limits. It's anywhere from mile 13
Yeah.
all the way to Mananaheim. That's our area of jurisdiction. But if you do have questions that say Laredo or Cenizo, you can call us and we'll try to refer you to whatever can help you best.
Correct people. Any more questions?
Thank you. Just on them real quick, did some of you go volunteer with them a few months ago? Also, okay, Carlota went, and I think, I heard that you all were very helpful, like, that, you all were very helpful, like, promoting the animals, taking people to go see them, so they are having an event this weekend, and then I heard on the 24th as well? Am I making that up? Maybe, I don't know. I'm gonna send you the information, but they do have a weekend event, and they, really liked the help that some of you all provided last time. They said that you were some of the best volunteers that they had, because you were very invested. So you are welcome to go help them. I'll send you the information, and you would also get community service hours, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we do appreciate the help. Any help goes a long way.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have our staff that takes care of everything. The officers doing their thing, kennel workers doing their thing. But any help from the outside, from the public, it goes a long way, and we really do appreciate it. Whether it's simply donating a small bag of food, or just coming to the shelter to help us with the animals. Like as she mentioned, promoting them goes a long way. Like you said, we're trying to get all these animals the right home.
Yeah, and I think it was, when was it, like last time that everybody went to the shelter and, we were looking at the dogs and the cats and all that. Hopefully we can do that again. I don't know if you guys are okay with it, so.
I think they will probably want to, yes.
Yes, because some of them look familiar, but, I mean.
Yeah, there's only like 4 or 5 of you all who were there last time.
Okay.
To the rest are
We're waiting for you guys.
So, yes. Thank you,
All right.
Before we go, just to wrap it up, please look at the bylaws. If you can apply, you can be ready. Our next meeting is set for September 12th, which is a Thursday at the airport. That one, if you're not gonna go, please let me know as soon as you can, because they do, for that one, they get special permission to walk you to certain areas, since the airport is managed by the city, but you have the FAA involved, and there's a lot of other stuff that happens there, so they have to get special permission. That's September 12th. That is where we'll also vote for your positions. Do you guys have any other questions?
How long do our speeches have to be for running?
10 minutes, I'm just kidding.
I was like, it was 30 seconds last
Yeah, I think it was 30 seconds, right?
It was
Yeah,
about 30
30 seconds. 30 seconds to a minute, just depending on how many of you there is. I'm trying to keep meetings to an hour this year. Last year, I think some of you knew, they were super long, like 2 or 3 hours. So trying to move it quickly to try to take to an hour. So yeah, 30 seconds to a minute. But yeah, if you have any questions, let me know. Okay?
I have 2 questions. How many sponsors can we have on one project, and can we continue from last year? If we had,
The movie project?
yes,
We can talk about that. You and me can talk about it separately.
Okay.
Yes? Okay, so we can kind of release separate. Okay, is there anything else? Okay, can someone say they have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, can someone say a
Second.
Second, okay, all in favor? Okay, cool, your meeting is adjourned.
I would say.
At